I'm here today with Adam from Rivers of Nihil.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's been a crazy, fun festival season for us. Yeah, today was awesome.
Where else have you been on your run? What were the highlights so far?
So we got here a couple weeks ago now. At this point, we played Brutal Assault. Like we basically stepped off the plane and onto the Brutal Assault stage, and that was awesome. And then a couple days later, we played Alcatraz.
Oh yeah.
And we've done some club dates with Suffocation and Decapitated and a few other cool bands. But yeah, and then ended up here, and we got Motoculture in France, and the day after tomorrow, and then we're heading home.
Nice. I bet you're looking forward to that.
Yeah. We're only going to be home for a very short time, and then we have a United States tour to go on. So
Awesome.
Always busy.
Do you get festivals like ArcTanGent where you live, or
No. No. I mean, I guess the closest thing to something like this would be like Heavy Montreal in Canada.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of places try to do big festivals in the States, and it seems like it's very hard to work out and to keep it going. We were actually supposed to sort of end this time together doing a big festival in the States, and like a lot of the bands complained about the promoters, issues they were having with promoters, and it spiraled out of control, and the next thing now it's canceled, like the whole thing.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's crazy. There was a huge mess over it, so now we're just not playing that. So
These things happen, I guess, in the live circuit.
what's that?
These things happen, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It makes you feel fortunate to come over to a place like this and do this thing. Yeah.
Have you been able to catch any of the other bands on the bill?
I have not. We basically got here, loaded our stuff in, and got ourselves ready to play, and then then it was time to do it. But we got to hang out with our friends in Mole. Yeah. So for a little bit, so that was nice at least.
They put on a great show.
Yeah.
How or when, why did you get into playing extended range bass?
It's I guess when I was about 18 when I started doing that, because I started playing in a band with some guys who played 7-string guitars, and I got a 5-string bass at first, and I didn't like that particular bass, so I traded it in, and the only other thing that they had was a 6-string. So I got that, and ever since I started playing that, like people just come up to me and they're just like, "Oh, 6 strings is crazy," and I'm just like, so it kind of became my thing in the our local scene for a while, and then I'm just and then eventually ended up joining Rivers, and there was 7 strings, so back to that, and like so it's just I feel more comfortable on a 6-string bass than I do a 5 or sometimes even a 4. So it's just where home is for me at this point.
I hear that. You've got a very technical style of playing. So who were you looking up to as your bass gods when you were getting going with that?
If I had to name a couple of them, I guess like when I was younger, when especially starting to play like the bigger basses, like Primus was a big deal for me. Les Claypool, he just his like not even like what he did was like amazing and like crazy, but it's like sort of off the rails too. And like before I really got into stuff like that, like I just kind of figured you had to play bass one way, and then that was like the point where I was like, oh, you can be really good at this instrument, and you can kind of do your own thing with it. So that was always a big inspiration. And then there's always guys like Tony Levin and John Wetton from King Crimson, and like Roger Waters. I love those, not crazy bass lines in Pink Floyd, but they're just very good.
It's tasteful, isn't it?
Yeah, I always like, even though I'm playing a crazy like 6-string bass and like I could do a lot of technical stuff, my favorite like thing to do is really draw it back in and play like with the kick drum and make sure it sounds good.
I think it's important. I'm a guitarist first, but when I have played bass, it's important to lock in and then do the embellishments on top of that.
Right. It's easy to get carried away with the amount that you can do when it's sometimes better to just do less and make it sound better.
That's pretty clear. Yeah. 100%. Cool. Well, a little bit about Rivers of Nihil, I guess. Well, the work's been out for about a year now, give or take. What were you expecting or hoping to come from that album?
Well, what I was expecting and what I was hoping are, I guess, different. Because Where Owls Know My Name, like, was such a huge hit for us. And I guess it put our name in a lot of people's minds for the first time, and was, you know, wildly successful as far as we're concerned. But so to follow it up was not an easy task, especially considering at the time we had to do it was when COVID was in full swing, and the band, you know, we don't live all in the same town, like we're not just down the street, like, so like traveling was very difficult. So it took, like, you know, just amidst all the craziness and depression of the time, it took a lot of effort to like even create the thing, you know, and we all had such crazy stuff going on in our lives. Like, Owls was so successful for us and sent us on such a crazy ride that by the end of that touring cycle, it felt like it was time for the world to just shut down, and like we were like really burned out. And
so maybe it wasn't a bad thing that you got some time at home.
Yeah, but you know, on top of that, it was just like we got this time off, and then it's like, well, maybe we never get to do this again. Maybe that's how this ends.
It felt like that.
Yeah. And so the dour feeling of that really translated into the work, and I didn't really want to ignore it. I didn't want us to like kind of chicken out and just make another Where Owls Know My Name, make another easy record with a bunch of saxophone solos where we put all the best songs in the beginning and like, you know, and we just market all the best stuff. I wanted to do something. I just wanted to do something different, and I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to tell a story and be real with the time, and it was important for me to make music and words come together to communicate to the listener, because it was such a dark time, and I thought for me it was important to like let people know that like this is us too. Like I know like it's easy to find bands, like to be into bands and like they feel a million miles away from your life, but we experience the hardship too, and like through that, you know, we expressed like the crazy expectation of that people had for our return and whatever. But I think what we did was, you know, we pushed the boundaries even further. We did things we were afraid to do, and you know, we knew it was gonna make some people like you know, shy away, maybe even just at first, but like from the time we started promoting it to now, I've seen the appreciation and acceptance of the album just like grow so much.
Yeah, it's a grower of an album. I would agree with that.
What's that?
It's an album that grows on you.
Yeah, and it's meant to. Like, it's kind of got this quality to it that like it like lays eggs in your brain, and it just makes you like, once you're done with it, it makes you want to just go like what, and just go back and start it again. And that's kind of the effect I wanted it to have, you know?
Yeah, for me it was more expansive than Owls, which was more expansive than the work before it. But like, where would you go next? Like, can you go more expansive? Is it about more influences? Like, how are you approaching it?
I mean, it's hard for me to say right now because, you know, that's the future, and we're still where we are currently, but I think if I had to, make any guesses, I think we've done these 4 records now, and we know what tools are in our toolkit and what we can do well and what we can improve on. And I think what we'll do next is really analyze that, whittle it down, and make the best thing that we can. I think that's the goal, is to take what we already do as a band the best and really emphasize those things.
Brilliant. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but for one last one, like how do European audiences compare to when you're back home?
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends where you are. It depends where you are in Europe, and it depends on where you are in the States. But because we've had good crowds in both places, everywhere. But there's a big difference between a UK crowd for us and a German crowd, and there's a big difference between a Canadian, like a crowd in let's say New York City versus like Ohio. So and it's all the day of the week. It's how much alcohol is on tap in the venue. Like, there's just so many factors, and at a certain point you play enough shows where you're just like, whatever, we'll see. If there's people there, I don't give a shit. Like, we're gonna do our best to have a good time no matter where we are. And it's we come to the terms with, like, we got to bring Rivers of Nihil to the place not the other way around.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Really nice to meet you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with future episodes by subscribing to our channels. For more information on this podcast, or for all the latest music news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website, www.therazorsedge.rocks.